Again for another episode of Your Pleasure Incorporated into Daily Living. I am your host, Ellen Nicholas Rathbone, sensuality consultant, sex educator, life coach, and personal trainer. I am going to talk today about one of my favorite subjects in the whole world, and that is the best orgasm ever. And now you might say, well, what is the best orgasm? That all depends on the individual. But there are some elements that should be included when one is talking about best as far as orgasm is concerned. The first thing would be, how much time did it take? If it took less than 5 minutes, it did not have adequate time to build enough tension for a serious explosion. It would have to take at least 20 to 30 minutes for the young lady, and it would have to take at least 10 minutes or more for the young man, okay? And that's all about control. So that is the second part to having the best orgasm ever, is that you are controlling when you are allowing the orgasm or the ejaculation to spurt from your body. Now, I like to be clear. The ejaculation for men is not the orgasm. It is what happens a nanosecond after his orgasm. His orgasm is something that is a circular energy that runs through his body, and it spurs this ejaculate to come out. And the Creator made it that way so that we would go through the effort of doing this, because it's really quite a lot of effort. But it feels good, so people want to do it. Well, if it only takes a couple of minutes for the male to release his sperm, then he is not building enough tension inside his penis to have a really dynamic, explosive, like rock him to his nuts kind of orgasm. So time is very, very important, the amount of time, and control. All right. Now, how one touches oneself, how one touches another, those are all very personal choices. Nobody can tell you that this is a better touch than that, because to each his own. Everybody likes what they like. But the most important thing is to remember that you have to learn how to have an orgasm slowly. It does not come naturally, especially for young men. And in this very, very rushed society, people are constantly trying to have their pleasure as quickly as possible without enjoying what they're doing. It's more the goal than the journey. And really, it is the journey that is the most beneficial part of disciplining your body to have an orgasm. And so that's part of it, is a discipline to enjoying yourself and being responsible for yourself in that pleasure. Now, this talk today is actually just for adults. I do not believe that children should be privy to information that is beyond their abilities to comprehend. Okay? Everything has to come to us at the proper time in our lives so that we can grow into situations. Putting a child who has no reason in the world, cannot procreate, so why, there's no reason to touch that child physically, morally, or any other way, because they're not able to make babies. So it would only be a perversion of the worst kind to take a sexual pleasure out on a child. In fact, it's just rape is really what it is, because there's no consensual relationship there. And that's all I'm going to say about that. It doesn't matter what kind of orgasm you're having. If you're having it with someone who is young and innocent and a child, then there's something wrong with that. Just my opinion, but all right, call me crazy. So there are different kinds of orgasms. I already talked about that, but let me be clear. The singular orgasm is the clitoral orgasm. And for 90% of the female population who have orgasm, and not all women have orgasm, they have a clitoral orgasm. And clitoral orgasm is easy to find because it's on the outside of her body. And if rubbed the right way, she can get there. But, believe it or not, there's psychological stuff that goes on in her head to allow her to have an orgasm. So another element to having the best orgasm ever is trust. If you do not trust your partner on a very intimate level, then you are not going to be able to let go and have the most explosive dynamic orgasm that your body can have, because your mind is very much a part of that orgasm and the ability to have an orgasm. And if trust is an issue, you don't have complete trust in this person, then it most definitely is going to impact and affect very greatly your ability to have an orgasm. And I've already said this before, and I want to repeat it. When you stifle your voice, when you're making love, having sex, when you stifle your voice because you don't want anybody to hear, well, guess what? That actually stifles the ability to have an orgasm as well. You might want to think you're superior to being an animal, but you are an animal. And if you make sounds, that's the normal, natural part of what's going on. It's called eulalia. I did a whole thing on it. But if you stifle your voice, you also stifle your ability to have an orgasm. So make sure you have the right kind of environment so that you can voice your pleasure. And make sure that you have trust in the relationship, because that is the foundation on whether you are going to be able to even let go. So the singular orgasm from women is clitoral, and for men is via the penis. There are also multiple orgasms for males and females. The female multiple orgasm is much more socially accepted than the male, because the female one is clitoral and vaginal at the same time. They are all part of the same mechanism. If rubbed correctly, it is the most explosive, dynamic part of orgasm ever. And it's the best part of being alive. It really is the best part of being a human, is having a vaginal clitoral orgasm at the same time. It's just, it's fleeting. It only happens for a little while out of the scope of all your days, but it is memorable. So if you can learn to have a vaginal and clitoral orgasm through practice and exercise, then you can have that too, because you have the parts. For the woman, you have the G-spot and you have the clitoris. And if rubbed correctly and you find the right position, you most definitely can enjoy a vaginal clitoral orgasm. Now, for the male, he also can have a double header orgasm, and that is penis prostate, because the prostate is his G-spot, and it's where all the fluid is made, so that when he has his ejaculate, which comes out of his nuts, it has a lot more fluid to shoot it forward. So he's making pretty much the same stuff, and that area of his body is super, super sensitive. And if rubbed correctly and creates more fluid, has more to ejaculate, makes the orgasm even more intense. Now, for those of you who cannot handle the idea of even putting a glove on and gently inserting it into your loved one's anus, lubricated, of course, there is an indirect way to also stimulate the prostate, and that is by gently tickling up on the perineum, which is the flap of skin between his testicles and his anus. There's the seam is there. And if you tickle up on that, you are indirectly stimulating the prostate, which for many men is very, very exciting and does a great job to stimulate him greatly, so that he too can have a double header where his sexual energy not only goes through his testicles, but also runs right through his prostate as well. Another kind of orgasm that is just delightful is the simultaneous orgasm. And that is when both you and your partner have an orgasm at the same time. Now, that does not happen very often. It's a very, very rare occurrence, considering how many times people have orgasms. But it is quite exciting. And not only is it mentally exciting, but it is very empowering and connecting and spiritual even, because you light up. Both of you light up tremendously. If you could look at each other through a special kind of camera while you were making love and having an orgasm, both of your bodies would be light bodies. And so you both light up. And, light doesn't have walls, or it just flows together. If it's one light there and one light there, you don't know where one begins and the other ends. So that kind of an orgasm is very unique, but beautiful. And you shouldn't try to strive to do it, because if you strive to do it, then it's going to always be elusive. But if you allow it to happen, and you learn about each other, and that's really the whole thing. You got to learn about each other and what it takes to get there. And then you'll have one or two, or maybe even three in a lifetime where you had simultaneous orgasm with your lover. And I just mentioned the multiple orgasm, which is the blended or double header. Now, for women, the multiple orgasm takes place through the G-spot. So clitoris is way too sensitive to have multiple orgasms, and that would be one after another, be way too sensitive. So it doesn't, okay? It has one and it's done. Maybe half an hour later, whatever, you try again, but then you're starting from ground zero and working your way back up. Most people don't do that. Clitoral is singular. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It is very satisfying. It is the most obvious place to go, and it's dynamic. So, but if she wants a multiple orgasm, or if you both want to create a multiple orgasm for her, that is what the G-spot is for. Now, this is actually one of the toys that I think is great fun for multiple orgasm, because one part is on the inside rubbing up against the G-spot, and the other part is on the outside of her body rubbing up against the clit. So between the two of them, this is called the We Vibe, and there are many, many versions of this. And it's actually self-charging too. It's a phenomenal toy to help that G-spot and vaginal clitoral orgasm happen at the same time. So the most important thing in having that phenomenal orgasm is to remember that it takes time to get there. I think one of the great disservices in our society is pornography, because there's no effort necessary in pornography for a man's dick to get hard. And if his dick gets hard without any effort on his part to stimulate a partner, then he becomes lazy. It's just easier to whack off himself. And he's having a quickie orgasm. And his quickie orgasm is laying the foundation for sort of bare bones minimum kind of sex. And I guarantee you his prostate is not involved in any of that stimulation. And so over a lifetime of that kind of bare bones minimum masturbation, there are going to be prostate problems, okay? Because the prostate has to get involved. And if nobody is anywhere near it or moving anywhere around it or stimulating it in any kind of way, if everybody's ashamed of it and calling it names and the person who owns one is a whatever, then the prostate gets a little bit of a complex. And a lot of people end up having problems with the prostate because they had real bad negative energy directed at it. So my advice to everybody who has a prostate is to love your prostate, love all of your body, because your body is your temple. It has phenomenal potential for pleasure. And if you disparage any parts of it, you will lose those parts. You will have problems with those parts. This is a very important thing to understand. Our sexuality is one of the greatest gifts that we have as humans, that we don't just procreate because we have to or we're driven to. We procreate and we continue our species, and that's a beautiful thing, but it's fun and it feels good too. Now, for the people who are self-absorbed and don't care about anybody else, it might not be as intense or as fun or as joyous or as beautiful as it can be. But if you are a person who understands the beauty of being a human being and the potential for pleasure that you have within your body and the potential for pleasure that you can give if you are willing to take the time to learn about your partner's needs and give them what they need and they give you what you need, that's like the best part about being human being, the best part. So to have the best orgasm your body can ignite, it's important, number one, to be well rested and not stressed. And I know that's difficult. Take a bath, an Epsom salt bath, a bath in Treasure of the Sea. Help your body to just relax. That's really important. Another thing, so that you have the energy to be able to play with your partner for a while, is to be well hydrated. Now, I know that doesn't sound very sexy, but most people are chronically dehydrated and they drink every crappy chemical that they can. All of those things they're drinking dehydrate the body, and then they wonder why they're tired. Well, if you're tired, it's probably because you're not drinking enough water. Also, what you eat. If you don't have any energy, it's because you're eating processed foods. So if you want to have energy to burn, to spend time, to play with your partner, to enjoy each other, you need to have a nourished body, and you have to eat clean. You have to actually read labels, oh my God, and respect what you put into your body. Remember, junk in equals low energy. And it's a good idea, after all is said and done, to learn how to control your sexual energy. If you're a guy, don't let the first orgasmic explosion get away from you. Learn how to control when you release the ejaculate, or better yet, learn how to recycle your sexual energy so you can have multiples too. That means no ejaculation, but that doesn't mean no orgasm. To sum up, we are vibration. We humans are vibration. Just because you can't see it with your eyes, that doesn't mean that we're not vibrating right now. An orgasm is the intensification of vibration to a specific area of the body or throughout the body, because you can have a full body orgasm too. Realizing this, if we want to experience in our sexual life the vibration emanating from this present form, is to respond with abandon. We can only abandon yourself to the feeling and the explosion that your body is creating. It is a good idea to take care of your body to achieve that. In essence, taking care of the body so it will remain responsive, strong, able. Create habits that empower your body to be its best so you can be and expect the best from it. Orgasm is the greatest gift we have as human beings. In a healthy, countless ways, we are creations who give this form, have this form to enjoy, and we're able to do that with our conscious mind and our creativity. This is just one of the many miracles of the human body. And if you want to know more about positions, some of the things I've talked about, please check out my book. You can only find it on Amazon. It's called Loving Sex, Every Woman's Guide to Sensual Sexuality. And while you're there, if you're interested, check out my Adventures of a Modern Aphrodite, some stories of the fun that I had when I did pleasure parties back in the day. If you have any questions about what I've discussed tonight, please contact me at ypi69 hotmail.com. I'll be glad to respond. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Be well, be happy, love one another and yourself. Next week, another exciting topic of conversation about pleasure. And Please share this podcast with adult friends and relatives. Due to the restrictions of Facebook, I am never allowed to invite all my followers to a show because I'm discussing sexual pleasure, and for them, that's too much. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. See you again soon. See you again next Wednesday. Namaste. Do your Kegels every day. Love yourself. Bye for now.